start the thing.
I think the thing is going.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to well, there's your problem / my birthday episode on the Philadelphia 76ers. Arguably one of the most tragic franchises in professional sports. I am happy to be here. You know who we are, but we have a guest. Dan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan McQuaid. I'm video and multimedia editor at Defector, and I am a lifelong Philadelphian and a Sixers fan. And
I'm so sorry.
have to deal with everything that goes along with that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right.
The Sixers won the NBA championship when I was like 4 months old. And they have not won since.
1983. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. All right.
But hold on before we go further. Dan, your mic is a little scratchy. Is that?
Yeah.
That's fine. We can work it out.
We'll fix everything.
We'll just go back to
I've got gain all the way down now.
We'll go back to the Liam days where one of us has audio quality that is.
Yeah. You missed that shit. You missed that shit.
You missed that shit. You fucking hogs.
Yeah. Listen, people. Look, I've had to do now 2 podcasts on the road because of our schedule, and I have to sit in hotel rooms in Maine with dangling my my
you're
audio,
dialing into a number station.
Yeah. My audio interface like that, balancing on one leg, just cursing out Roz. You missed the unrecorded audio where I just said any number of Hebrew curses, hoping one of them would get him.
Yeah, if we just hear a crash, it's because Justin has been murdered by the golem.
Yes. Thank you, golem. All right, so let's explain everyone's favorite, the 1996 not very good movie. Sorry about it, Space Jam. It's not very good.
Listen, yeah, that's true. But on the other hand, a lot of people on the internet today.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
All I'm saying is a lot of people on the internet today are the way that they are now because of the Girl Rabbit and Space Jam.
Oh, God. Listen.
There's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't play basketball.
Is this your understanding?
We're moving through very different basketball movies here.
Yes.
I would say Air Bud is 20 times the movie that Space Jam is. Actually,
yeah, 100%. Although,
I watched Space Jam recently-ish. I don't know why. It was on. It's there's nothing else to do but watch TV now. And Michael Jordan wasn't too bad. It was Bugs Bunny who was terrible.
Yeah, I just remember Bill Murray being there for 10 minutes, and I was just dude, what? You have money. You don't have to be in this movie. I just love the idea that Bill Murray showed up thinking Bugs Bunny was real now. That's why he's in the film. It's
he
just
thought it was going to be a Who Framed Roger Rabbit style situation.
What the fuck is this?
The movie Space Jam doesn't even take place in space. They fight aliens, but the basketball game takes place at the center of the Earth.
It's not Earth Jam. It's
that is the opposite of space. Yeah.
Despite the rings. All right, so let's, I guess, talk about the history of basketball in about, a minute.
Okay.
All right. So
do you want a buzzer or something for that?
Yeah, give it. Basketball was invented by James Naismith in 1891 in beautiful Springfield, Massachusetts, which is where the Basketball Hall of Fame is. It's very good, and if the pandemic is over, you should go there. You score 50 seconds by putting the ball in the hoop. There are 5 players on each team. There's a shot clock now.
40 seconds.
Once you have possession of I will kill you. Once you have possession of the ball.
That's the shot clock.
Dude, yes. And now you can score threes.
30 seconds.
Behind a certain line. And real quick, we should talk about how the game has evolved. So now it's guys are smaller and faster. And they take a lot of threes in the interest of efficiency. They also take a lot of very close-up shots, except for the Sixers, who are all 10 million feet tall and real slow. Done.
10. Oh, you had 10 seconds left.
Whoa!
Crushed it, I gotta say. Do you want Is This the Dagger?
No, not yet. Not yet. All right. So next slide, please. All right. So here's our esteemed guest, circled in red because he didn't tell me if I could use this photo or not. Thanks.
Yeah,
Dan.
you can use it. Yeah. I mean, it's here. I mean, I sent it to you for you to use, also for proof that I was at the unveiling of Franklin.
In like the only good mascot we have is in my opinion, it's a dog because we used to have a racist rabbit called Hip Hop.
What?
Yeah, I have a whole thing. I can go into it now. I have a whole thing about Hip Hop and Franklin and the Sixers ownership.
Yeah, go for it. Honestly, right. Please.
So, Hip Hop was like Rabbit Allen Iverson, who they invented. The Sixers have had lots of mascots over the years. When I was a kid, they had a character named Big Shot, who was sort of like I don't really even know how to explain him. He was sort of like a knockoff Muppet. Probably was made by Jim Henson Productions, because they've done a lot of mascot work for Philadelphia area teams. And like I don't know. People, I feel like you'll hear now. People will be like, "Oh, I loved Big Shot," and it's like, no, he was awful. When I was a kid, my mom and I used to go to the Sixers home opener every year. And one year before the game, there was like a dude in like a blue bodysuit, like walking up in the rafters, like on the concourses on the ceiling. And I said that to my mom, and she was like, "Shut up! Stop making up like things." And then they introduced a new mascot who came down from the ceiling. It's called Slam, and I don't think he lasted like 2 or 3 games. I've never heard of him again. No one has heard about him. I swear this exists. This isn't like a
76ers cryptid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they rebrand it in like the second year of Iverson, I believe that's also when they introduced Hip Hop, who was like a rabbit who dressed like Allen Iverson, or like a stereotype of a black person in the late 90s. And then like eventually they made him really swole. He had big muscles. The Sixers also briefly had a dude named Lil G, who was a dude from Bucks County who was a little person and met Pat Croce at an autograph signing. Pat Croce was the Sixers president at the time, and just said, "I want to be your mascot." And Pat Croce said, like, "Can you get crazy?" And the guy said, "I can get crazy." And so he was the Sixers mascot for like a couple years. Like he's following around
medieval court jester rules. You just find the shortest person you can find and be like, "Hey, can you fucking go crazy with this shit?"
Unfortunately, I'm going to bring it down here a little bit. He actually died last year.
No.
Yeah. I don't think the Sixers like even did like a RIP.
Not even like rest in like, man.
So again, new ownership, not so good.
Always in our hearts, you know.
So when the Sixers ownership bought the team, I went back and found these articles, and they announced that they were getting rid of Hip Hop in 2011. Like in November 2011.
Wow, Nas was right. Hip hop is dead.
Yeah. I did a Photoshop of that album cover for when they announced the news, I believe. And when the CEO of the team at the time, Adam Aron, who is now the CEO of AMC Theaters, you occasionally see him in the news for like doing something stupid. And obviously, movie theaters are not the greatest business right now. So Adam Aron said that he like talked to people on Twitter. He went on WIP. He read a poll in the Inquirer, and one of the first things that he and Josh Harris, who's the main owner of the team, said that here's Adam Aron's quote: "Hip hop wasn't the right image for the team we wanted to create, and the product we wanted to offer 76ers fans." So like, ugh. But the important thing, I'm really rambling here. The important thing is that at that time, they said that they were in they were in well-advanced discussions with Jim Henson's Creature Shop and Dave Raymond. Dave Raymond is the guy who was the original Philly Fanatic and helped create the costume and sort of the character. So, like, literally the kings of mascots, Jim Henson and Dave Raymond. He said they were in deep discussions, and he said that he wanted it to be related to Ben Franklin. Here's his quote. Ben Franklin is a human being, and these mascots are usually more animals. I don't think our pure mascot will be Ben Franklin walking around on the court. But if there's a way to work in the founding fathers or the colonial era or even Ben Franklin, that would be a nice feather in the cap. But
so what they got was a blue dog called Franklin.
Hold on. Yeah. So then the Sixers had a poll. They hold on, here we go. They had a contest to pick the new mascot, and this was in December 2011. And they had 3 choices, and it was a Ben Franklin, just like an old Ben Franklin dude. And these were all just drawings, so, you know, like, we weren't seeing the actual costume. There was a dog named B. Franklin Dog with 2 G's. And he, like, kind of looked like hip-hop, but a dog, but, like, in colonial garb. And then there was a mascot called Phil E. Moose, which was just like a moose. And so they had people to vote on it. And so obviously there were 2 fake choices, Ben Franklin and Philly Moose, and B. Franklin Dog. So the contest did not go very well, apparently, because it was never mentioned again. So my theory, and I've never been able to confirm this, is that they just didn't, like, everybody voted for Philly Moose because that was the only one that was, like, interesting. So they talked about how in 2011 they were going to have a Ben Franklin dog mascot. And in February 2015, they finally introduced their Ben Franklin dog mascot.
Seen here at the launch of Franklin Episode 1, which is a much larger cast than I remember.
That's a lot of people, Roz.
Yeah.
How did you get them all in the recording studio?
I was covering this for Philadelphia Magazine, where I was I don't know what my title was at the time. I worked there, and that's why I'm in the background. I need to update my winter coat because that's still the winter coat I wear. And Franklin debuted. So the way that they debut mascots now, I've been to a bunch of them in for some reason.
Dad, is this the Franklin Institute?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So you get a bunch of kids out of school, and then you, like, hype them up, and then you introduce the mascot, and they're all screaming because they're, like, hyped up on sugar and they're not in school, and it goes great. And this went really well, except that Franklin was supposed to begin with a dunk, and he was way far away, and he sort of, like, flicked it into the basket from far away. So then they did a second take, which was amazing. And he dunked again, and he landed flat on his back when he dunked. So it was. This is not unusual for Philadelphia mascots. Swoop, like the Eagles mascot, parachuted into the vet when he debuted, and he crashed into the sidelines.
Ah, shit, we broke Alice.
So, anyway, my point is that it took them 4 years to create a dog like Ben Franklin. 3.5, really.
Looks great, though.
I'm still wondering, like, if I think animals associated
with the dog.
If I'm thinking animals which are associated with Ben Franklin, I'm thinking a turkey, right?
Yes.
Why would you not do a turkey?
We don't do that here.
Just go back to the 80s shit and just have a guy in a blue Zentai creeping around in the rafters. You know, maybe you'll see him. You don't know. Eyes up.
Yeah, hey man. That would be
the
more
76ers Mothman.
I would look at some point. Like, I will say to the Sixers credit, the on-court entertainment during, like, TV timeouts and shit is incredibly entertaining, simply because, like, half the people who are doing the entertainment at any given point look like they're having the time of their lives, and half of them are just like, all right, so ritual mass suicide after this is over, right? You bring the spike punch, all right, like, see you at 10.
When the first Union Center opened, then it was called the Core State Center. When that opened, It was the opening, and so my mom and I were there, and they had this group called the Dew Crew. They were sponsored by Mountain Dew, and it was like a bunch of like breakdancer types. Like
now they're sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts for some reason.
And
what?
And so
it's weird. American sports are weird.
So the Dew Crew came out, and like one dude did the worm across the court, other people were dancing, and the fans booed immediately. And Comcast Sportsnet ran like a behind the scenes of the Sixers opening at the time. And they had Pat Croce, the team president at the time, and he said, "Cheerleaders, great. House band, great. Oh yeah, the Sixers had a house band for a while. And Dew Crew, gone." And so they only lasted literally one game. He fired them after the first game. It was so bad.
This team is brutal, as we'll see. All right, let's talk about the history of the Sixers. So the Sixers actually start as the Syracuse Nationals in the ABA, if I'm recalling correctly.
It would be I believe it's the NBL or the.
Oh God.
Because it's either the BAA or the NBL. Yeah. They merged to form the NBA.
Right. And so what we talk. Jesus Christ, Dan, are you dead?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. I have a note in here that's just remember the 80s question mark.
Yeah, you remember the 80s?
Well, the Sixers won their last title in 83 during a decade of dominance between the Celtics and Lakers. And they've kind of, as a franchise, I feel like every few years, the Sixers sort of have this like return to relevance, and then they just start like sucking ass again. And remember when I was a kid, 2001, they had drafted Iverson first overall in 96, and I really can't, or 97, I really can't emphasize how crazy that was because he was so good at basketball. And I remember like 9-year-old me just having my mind blown every time I watched SportsCenter. And in 2001, the Sixers make it to the NBA Finals, where they lose in 5 games to the Lakers. But we do have that picture of Allen Iverson stepping over Ty Lue, who is, and I truly mean this, Ty Lue is the Forrest Gump of the NBA. Dan, if you want to fill in, since I was born in 91.
Yeah.
The
one thing that this guy, that the new regime did when they first took over is they started publicizing that the Sixers had the 3rd most wins and the 3rd most playoff wins in NBA history, which is like not a stat you really hear like too much in sports. Like maybe like, oh, they have the most wins, or they have the most championships you hear. But they like this would like circle, like this fact would like circle the arena's LED screens before the games.
We're number 3. Number 3.
And so the Sixers have a team that have had a lot of stars in their history. The original Philadelphia pro basketball team. The original Philadelphia League pro basketball team was the Warriors, and they had Wilt Chamberlain originally, and they won a title here. They moved to San Francisco. The Nationals moved to Philadelphia. The Warriors traded Wilt back to Philly, and the Sixers won a title with him as well. And obviously in the 70s, they had Dr. J after the ABA and NBA merged. And, they had Charles Barkley in the 80s as well. And then they had Iverson in the 90s and 2000s. They've had a lot of players who are stars and, are considered among some of the greatest of all time. But they only have those 2 titles plus one in Syracuse. So while they have won a lot of games, the 3rd most, they haven't had a lot of championships.
And we're going to see why. I will say, Charles Barkley still actually lives around Philly, which is the funniest little nugget because I have seen him at the City Avenue Target.
I once wrote an article about how everyone sees Charles Barkley at the City Avenue Target.
Thanks, Dan. Now I don't feel special anymore.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, he lives right there.
He lives in Wynwood, right?
And but I mean, that's like pretty cool. Everyone I talked to for that article said he was like more than gracious with anybody who wanted to pose for photos with him.
Yeah, he was. I can confirm he was really nice.
So
some
go
perseverance.
Charles Barkley.
Some perseverance to keep going to the same target when you know that people know that you go there.
Well, he wants to be recognized, though. Charles Barkley loves being on TV. It's not a criticism of him, but the guy really wants you to talk about how great Charles Barkley is, even though he never won a title.
He also literally lives right there. He lives in like a high-rise building, so like I'm not really like revealing where he lives, but he lives right there.
Yeah, I think I might know the building.
No.
Actually, Roz and I have been to that building at 3 a.m. not to see Charles Barkley, but we can start another time.
That evening. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Next slide, please.
No, so we're just gonna leave that one hanging. Okay.
Well, we could talk about that. That was actually, we've referenced it before. That was the night that we had to stop drinking at our own party because it was getting too wildly out of hand. And some guy showed up already out of his mind on painkillers, proceeded to drink most of a 30 rack by himself, pass out drunk, try to sexually harass two of our friends, went back to sleep drunk. We had to put him into the recovery positions. The medics came and told us that basically he was our fucking problem now. And then he woke up, called himself an Uber, and our equally drunk roommate had to ride in the Uber with him back to undisclosed location where Charles Barkley lives. And we had to, and then he was like, come into my apartment. So we made sure he was okay. And then we stole all of his beer as recompense.
Yes.
And then we went to Taco Bell at 3 a.m. and they were really nice to me and gave me extra cinnamon twists because my night had been so fucking terrible.
Bright college days.
All right. So this is the Fresh Prince of Despair. So let's talk about the Harris sale. All right. So Josh Harris is a hedge fund ghoul.
They all are, aren't they?
He owns or started Apollo Capital Management, which is one of the like very large hedge funds or private equity. I think they might actually do both.
Is there a sports team that isn't owned by a hedge fund?
The Packers.
Oh,
yeah. And I think the Steelers are owned by whatever Heinz heir is kicking around at the moment.
John Kerry.
Yeah. So Josh Harris, hedge fund ghoul. Previously, the Sixers had been owned by Comcast, which actually owns me, Roz, and Dan as we live in the city of Philadelphia. So please don't turn our Matrix implants off, guys.
I was a contractor for Comcast for several years. It is hard to be a worse company than Comcast, but the new Sixers ownership has found a way.
I will say my girlfriend's sister works for she goes to Drexel. She's co-oping for Comcast right now, and she's like well into that cult, and I'm just like, listen, no, I can't listen to you talk about how good a company Comcast is, and I will unplug the Matrix implant myself.
I actually really enjoyed working there. I just wish they had given me health insurance.
Yeah, the health insurance
and days off, you know.
Always nice.
You live in America, Dan. Can't have that.
Yeah.
So Josh Harris and also Will and Jada Pinkett Smith and a few other people buy the Sixers from Comcast for $280 million. They retained their coach, who had actually played for the Sixers. His guy's name is Doug Collins. They had a decent run the year before, but like we had said, they had kind of been stuck in limbo for a while. But that first they fired their GM, who sucked ass anyway, in my opinion. And then they struggle a bit. They make it into the playoffs. It's a lockout shortened season. So we'll get into NBA labor relations with the slide that has a picture of the Battle of Blair Mountain on it. But they upset the Bulls in the first round of the playoffs. Please note the Bulls were missing their 2-star players. And they took the Celtics to 7 and lost. And my notes say, keep that in mind. The Celtics are this team's Grim Reaper. So I do want to say, like, this is going to be fun for me. Sorry, Dan, as a Celtics fan, just because I love the idea that the Sixers were specifically constructed to beat the Celtics team. and never can.
Do you want a Grim Reaper drop?
Oh yeah, but I the last slide is just the Grim Reaper. It was just the Celtics logo superimposed on the Grim Reaper's body, and I'm really excited to show that off.
I was just gonna do it every time you mention the Celtics. I was just gonna do like a.
Oh, thank you. I like that. Even though it implies that we're the carry-on. What else we got? All right, so Dan, do you remember the Mo Harkless draft?
Of course.
He was all I remember about him was that he got hurt a lot and wasn't very good. And that same year, they signed Kwame Brown and like Nick Young. And I kind of wanted to talk about Nick Young for a second. If Roz suddenly developed into a basketball player and also dropped like 30 IQ points and was just like, all right, I'm going to do the things for the memes. Like, I'm going to do it for the gram. If he was Swaggy P. Yeah, if he was Epic Lol style, that's Nick Young, also known as Swaggy P, he's the best meme fodder the NBA has ever had. But they also signed Kwame Brown, who was drafted in 2003 by the Washington Wizards, I want to say. And he was horrible. He's
famous. He was the #1 overall pick. He's famous for being like losing all his skills after Michael Jordan harassed him in practice too much.
Yeah, he got Space Jammed. He literally got Space Jammed. Like that's like the plot of Space Jam happened to Kwame Brown.
What did Michael Jordan say to him?
Michael Jordan, by all accounts, is just like on the best days, like an unhinged sociopath.
Yeah, but like, what did he do to him that he like burned out all of
his mom?
It's
fucked his mom, right? Like
that's the Jordan nerve pinch.
Yeah,
Kwame Brown just folds over. And just that's it. There's no more Wizards basketball.
Michael Jordan just sucked the basketball right out of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He became the monster he swore to destroy. All right. Next slide, please. All right. This is Andre Iguodala. He used to play for the Sixers. Then he went to the Warriors. You'll notice he's holding a trophy in his hand. You'll notice that he's not wearing a Sixers shirt.
Are those two things like not correlated with each other?
Are. Let's talk about the fucking Andrew Bynum trade. So in this bizarro world NBA trade where you could have like 4 teams involved in trades at once, the Sixers sent Nikola Vucevic, Mo Harkless, Andre Iguodala, pictured here, and a future first rounder to Orlando and Denver. This is between Orlando, Denver, Philly, and LA. And they got Andrew Bynum and Jason Richardson. So Nikola Vucevic and Andre Iguodala have blossomed into very good players. Iguodala won a Finals MVP in 2015 that he shouldn't have won because he got it for guarding LeBron James,
who had like an incredible series.
Yeah, who had, I think, statistically like one of the best playoff series ever, and like. He has a trophy from that year. LeBron doesn't, so what do I know? But they've blossomed, like I said, into 2 very good players. Vucevic is a multi-time All-Star. Andre Iguodala has been 6th man of the year infinity times. But yeah, you'll notice that he's not wearing a Sixers shirt in that photo. And in exchange, the Sixers got Andrew Bynum, who was an All-Star center, and then went to a bowling alley, blew up his leg, and died, if I remember correctly.
What? Go back over that for me for a second.
Andrew Bynum was always hurt on the Sixers, and it came out that he had injured. I don't think it was his leg. I think it was his arm, if I remember correctly. Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That he had blown up at a bowling alley and had lied about it to team doctors, and then just never played the game.
He had had severe knee problems, and that's one of the reasons why he was available in a trade. Had he not had these knee problems, I don't think the Lakers would have traded him. He in that offseason was getting treatment for, I believe, arthritis in his knees, and he was told not to do any activity. But he was a person, and despite having millions of dollars, but perhaps because of it, he went out and did stuff. And one of those things was bowling at, I believe, a Lucky Strike, a Center City bowling alley.
Incredible.
And they say that maybe, was something that contributed to him not recovering. Who knows? I don't necessarily know, but I do know that his knees just continued to worsen after the Sixers got him, and he never played for them.
And I believe Jason Richardson played like 30 games and then also basically didn't play again. So this was sort of supposed to be a good year for the Sixers, and it wasn't. Because, again, Andrew Bynum blew up his legs and died, and they had no one on that roster that wasn't dying. Like, the whole team was hurt. Like, at one point, I think I suited up for the Sixers. It wasn't just that basketball account that follows us. It puts us into simulated lineups sometimes. I was actually there.
Yeah, you laced them up for that.
Everyone in the city limits, there's sort of an order in which they'd be asked to suit up.
Roz is starting at guard for the Eagles on Thursday, so good luck, bud. Remember what I told you. Hands out. Hands down, man down, Roz. All right, so April 18th, 2013, Doug Collins resigns, and on May 11th, 2013, this idiot team hires Sam Hinkie. Next slide, please.
I just wanted to point out that the way the trophy is depicted on the shirt looks like a waste paper basket.
Oh, it really does. Yeah.
Also, the owner of the Warriors
into the basket.
Alice, I have a story just for you that the owner of the Warriors definitely fucked that trophy. There's a weird story that actually I think Deadspin broke that like he had said something real fucking weird about old Deadspin, R.I.P.
Yeah.
About how he had talked about like, we did some stuff with it. His name is Joe Lacob, and he definitely fucked that trophy.
How? What?
I don't ask questions. This is a bootleg T-shirt taken by someone.
I thought that like people putting bodily fluids on or in the trophies was a hockey thing, but apparently not.
Yeah, they dented when the Caps won it, they dented it. They dented it pretty bad, if I recall. Because they kept just throwing it around.
I actually have a story about the other owner of the Warriors, Peter Guber.
Is his last name seriously Goober?
Yeah, Goober.
Peter Guber.
So Peter Guber was like a Hollywood guy, and he and a guy named John Peters, who was a hairdresser who became involved with Barbra Streisand. They actually ran Sony Pictures for a brief, disastrous time. And there's a great book about it called Hit and Run by Nancy Griffin and Kim Masters. They're like longtime Hollywood journalists. And so let me tell you how Peter Guber wanted the movie Rain Man to end. I actually I have an image of this. I tweeted it once, so I was able to find the image of it real quick. Birnbaum and Morrow arrived for breakfast at Guber's house promptly the next day. Guber told them he had thought of the perfect way to wrap up the movie. Morrow's draft concluded with Hoffman's character, the autistic Raymond, being brought back to Los Angeles by his brother. The last sequence was of the brothers sitting on a hill outside of Dodger Stadium watching a baseball game. I've got this ending that's going to be really sensational, Guber told them excitedly. What will happen is Raymond will come back, and suddenly his brother will get him to pitch in the Dodger game, and he'll win the World Series for the Dodgers, and it'll be big, it'll be huge. So imagine if that's how Rain Man ended, with an insane ending where Raymond is pitching and wins the World Series for the Dodgers. So this is one of the smart guys who owns the Warriors.
Oh, here's a quote about Joe Lacob fucking the trophy because he fucked the trophy. Quote, I had made a promise to myself that I would sleep with the trophy that night, reveals Lacob, which rides with Jacob, apparently. His fiance and I, Nicole, and I did sleep with it. On one hand, we had to ask more questions. The other, we really don't want to know. Any one of these already shared. I'll leave it to the imagination, he says, grinning. We had a lot of fun with it.
What?
Yeah, Joe Lacob fucked a trophy.
How do you, it doesn't have a hole in it. It's not like the
maybe it's the other way around. Maybe that trophy has been inserted somewhere.
That's the only thing I could think of. But listen. We are a professional podcast, and I will not resort to mere speculation. All right, so this is a bootleg T-shirt someone was selling in Philly, and you can tell that because there's an Eagles background that the shirt's on. So Sam Hinkie is hired from the Rockets. He actually wasn't bad, but just a little bit of background. He was born in the Netherlands, because of course he was, where his dad was working for Halliburton.
Okay.
I just want to
what if they're weaponized shoe polish factories?
Yes. So he is a truly like a VC guy. He worked at Bain Capital. He had gone to Stanford. He goes to the Rockets. Next slide, please. Where he learns about the lesson sort of done by Billy Beane, which is actually who the book Moneyball is about.
We're getting into something I actually know about instead of just basketball. We're getting to Moneyball. We're getting to sabermetrics.
Yeah. So
what if you just
Alice, do you want to talk about sabermetrics?
What if instead of being good at sports, you put all of the data about sports into a big Excel spreadsheet, and that tells you how to play the sports. And then independently of this, 10 years later, Nate Silver calls the election wrong and you get Trump as president.
All right, well, that wasn't as helpful as I thought it could have been, but that's fine.
Listen, is that not an accurate summary of sabermetrics?
Well, that's close. I mean, sabermetrics sort of focuses on what you don't see in traditional scouting of talent. So Billy Beane, who is the manager of the Oakland A's, a small market team, has to sort of find a way to compete with the big markets, New York, Boston, LA, so on and so forth. And they sort of talk about, how often does a guy actually get on base? Like, what's his slugging percentage, stuff like that. How, as opposed to just
more data.
Right. And so Daryl Morey, who's at the Rockets, and Sam Hinkie sort of follow this religiously. And it's worth noting that this is when the NBA, and I hit on it earlier, is starting to really lean into analytics and lean into shot selection. So the idea of efficiency is starting to become really popular. The Warriors are about to, bang out 3 titles in 4 years. Because
the Rain Man ending came true after all, just a different sport.
But just Steph Curry is Rain Man. Yeah. So 3-point shooting, very up close to the rim. Like, you're talking about stuff like seeding rebounds so you can get back on transition defense. You're going small, so you have an emphasis on speed. Guys like Russell Westbrook being able to sort of cut as sort of the next coming of Allen Iverson. Guys like Damian Lillard being able to shoot from 40 feet away pretty reliably. The idea of spacing the floor, that all sort of becomes very apparent in this sort of 2010, 2015 range, I would say. Next slide, please. So Sam Hinkie,
uncomfortably high resolution photograph.
Yeah, you're welcome. I guess let's talk about the process, which is why we're here. You can drop it, Alice.
Oh, God. All right.
And they're chanting, trust the process.
All right. So Sam Hinkie decides to zig instead of zag. And he says, we're not going to do... The logic basically is as follows. We are bad, and no stars are going to want to come here in free agency, which is one of the primary ways you acquire players. So we're going to have to draft them. And how you get better draft odds to get better players in the draft is by losing a bunch.
God, okay.
So you're talking about essentially the private equity model of basketball, where you pillage a team for its resources that you think are undervalued and you oversell them, essentially. And you sell them when they're overvalued. So the Sixers embark on this diluted ass vision quest to lose basically as many games as possible. To the point where, like, and we'll get there, but the NBA has to like flatten the lottery odds. So you're talking about basically losing on purpose.
Any percent speed run.
Yes.
Yeah.
So his first move as GM is to trade their best player for a former lottery pick, Nerlens Noel, who had been drafted, I think, number 6, who had blown up his knee or his ACL, and a future first rounder. And we'll talk about that because Sam Hinkie loves stockpiling him some picks, especially in the second round, because another basketball team, the San Antonio Spurs, had figured out that there was talent to be had in the second part of the draft, and in getting like a bunch of Europeans no one had ever heard of and putting them into a cohesive basketball team. But Sam Hinkie is not the Spurs. Brett Brown is not Greg Popovich, and we'll see what happens. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. This is Michael Carter Williams.
Looking like he's having a good time.
I was about to say, yeah.
So the season after, like in the time after Hinkie was hired, everyone leaves, including Andrew Bynum, who died. And so Michael Carter Williams is drafted. He was drafted number 1 overall, I think. No, he wasn't. He was like 11th.
Something like that, yeah. Because Nerlens Noel was the 6th pick.
That's right. And that draft class was truly abysmal, which is one of the risks of tanking that we don't talk about, is that some draft classes are a lot better than others. And the 2013 draft class, of which Michael Carter Williams and Nerlens Noel were a part of, was big ass.
Look, I'm just going to throw every game that comes my way and not pay any attention to college basketball. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I highly recommend doing what I do to Roz when I'm trying to annoy him and making him watch Providence College, just back him a bunch of 20-footers. So Michael Carter Williams actually wins Rookie of the Year because A, they had to give it to somebody, and B, like, statistically, he was great. He just was on a horrible team. And you think, okay, no big deal. So they're tanking to build a team around Michael Carter Williams. Absolutely fucking not. There are 82 games in a basketball season. The Sixers go 19-63.
Damn.
And yet, not even the worst record that year, because the Bucks went 17-65.
Yeah, the Sixers actually started that season 3-0.
Yeah, they had beaten the Heat, I think.
Yeah, they beat the Heat in the opener.
Oh, beat the Heat.
Who were then I don't know if they were the reigning champs. Yeah, they were the reigning champs.
All right. So we're going to get into it a little bit more, but we're starting to talk about truly ugly, unwatchable basketball. And also the thing that I'm going to talk about a bit more is turning players into commodities. And we'll see sort of what happens to young players when, like, there's no, I hate to say adults in the room, but one of the things you have to remember about these guys is that a lot of them are 19 and 20 years old, because you only have to do, if you go the college route, you only have to play 1 year of college ball to go to the NBA. So you're talking about the expectations of a city, more money than they've ever had in their entire lives for a lot of these guys, and huge amounts now of freedom. And, like, I don't know about y'all, but if someone had handed me $7.5 million and I was 19 years old and said, okay, you play professional basketball, go have fun, I would have a coke problem so ambitious I would bankrupt the country of Colombia.
I am buying the gold Furby with the movable eyes from Uncut Gems at that point.
Yes, I am doing that. Oh, Adam Sandler was in my neighborhood the other day, but I didn't see him. It was a real shame. Next slide, please. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid. All right, so this is the 2014 NBA draft. Joel Embiid had been a star at Kansas. He is incredible when he's healthy. He's 7 feet tall. He has an amazing wingspan. He can dominate a game when he decides to take over. He can bully people around simply with his size. He's an extremely gifted basketball player.
Can I guess the catch? Is there a catch?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a catch, Alice. What do you think it is?
Is the catch that he can't fucking stay healthy?
And his conditioning sucks ass, and he's a little baby back bitch. Yep, that's in the notes. All right. So I remember this because at then and now I got all of my sports writing from whatever the wreckage of Deadspin and now Defector and The Athletic. and they were just like, he's never going to play. And there was a prevailing thought. I don't know if it was the consensus, but it was the prevailing thought that he would never play in the NBA. So you spent your number 3 draft pick on this guy who might never play. And in fact, he misses his first 2 seasons. But that's part of the process, right? You draft, you dump players, you lose games on purpose, and it doesn't matter. You don't care about winning, which again sucks to watch.
Watching a hedge fund play basketball sounds like a great time.
So would people be chanting "trust the process" when they lost?
Yes.
Oh
as,
my God.
as sarcastic.
I think the trust the process chants only really started after they started winning.
That's true. That's fair.
Right.
There were also just fewer people there when they were really bad. I mean, there's a guy I know bought an entire row for, I believe, 10 cents.
Wow.
My girlfriend's family had season tickets because they were very cheap, and it's a good way to entertain 5 people. And they, before the start of every home game, would get like a handwritten note and like swag bags and stuff, because the Sixers actually managed to bottom out in attendance in the NBA before they started being good and actually increasing it, because you could do stuff like high five players coming out of the tunnel, because there's like 8 season ticket holders, so it doesn't matter. Like, all of you could stand there.
Yeah, it's like, do you want a box?
Yeah.
We don't give a shit. We're not using them.
Next slide, please. This is the best picture I have.
Looking good.
All right, so the Sixers also draft. Okay, so this is Dario Saric.
Sponsored by Pornhub, apparently.
Yeah, the Sixers were real quick out of the gate with those sponsored jerseys. The Sixers draft a guy named Elfrid Payton, and then trade him to the Magic, the Orlando Magic, for the rights to this guy, Dario Saric. And they also swap picks. Even
just kind of
Saric,
horse trading stuff.
Right. Saric has just signed a 2-year contract. Guess what continent he's going to play in?
Ooh. South America.
Asia Minor.
Actually, sort of, Roz. It's the Turkish Basketball League.
Yeah.
So they're going to keep him overseas for 2 years. They're number 10, because remember, you're not trying to win games. So
you're just in Turkish basketball jail.
Yeah, you're in Turkish basketball jail. We never know if you're going to escape. Have fun on Mykonos for $8.
Yeah, playing against a team that's 4 goats and 1 old guy.
Those 4 goats, man, they stack on top of each other. That's a scary rebounding presence. Really dominate the low post when they start attacking your knees. So again, no one actually knows if he's ever going to come to the United States. And if you view it through the lens of, well, we're just stockpiling picks and drafting whatever, then it's a great deal. But like, again, sucks to watch.
Unless you're in Turkey.
Unless you're in Turkey. All right. Next slide, please. The 2014-2015 season.
The normal man seen here.
I remember my dad
with
calling
excellent
me.
spelling.
Yeah. Progress.
Progress.
Progress. Yeah.
Trust the progress.
Trust the process.
My man just really likes the Pogues and got kind of confused.
Good band. So I remember this season being the one where my dad called me after a Sixers-Knicks game and told me he was sorry that I had gone to school in Philadelphia. And, oh God, this team was absolutely, truly fucking horrible. It was truly built to lose. They had traded their leading scorer from the previous season. 7 of these guys were undrafted. You had 15 dudes making $25 million combined, which was less than what the Knicks were playing an old man Amari Stoudemire.
Oh,
who
that's
by that
bad.
point was pretty bad.
Imagine what's it like being one of these guys, you know?
Oh, we'll see on the next slide. Next slide, please. You might have to do this in present mode.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. What is happening here?
I want you to play the video if you can.
Oh,
I have brought some video clips.
Some B-roll. Yeah.
Just the one.
Oh, is it broken? Is it broken?
Open link. It says I need access.
Jesus.
All right, let me try and find. Hold on.
And welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. A disaster.
That's right. A
disaster
to
view this video.
I'll say
with slides. But yeah.
Okay, hold up.
This is actually a problem teachers are having a lot this year when they're trying to present Google Slides to their classes. They're getting these like weird permission errors.
Okay, you should have access now. All right, so this is the end of a game.
Ah, crap.
That's fine. And as you'll see, Dan, if you want to explain what's going on here.
Sure. So the Sixers used to have a promotion where you got free Big Macs if they scored over 100 points. So here's the end of the game. It's great with the sound because the fans are going nuts. Here they are jumping around, and then he stumbles and falls, and they don't get the free Big Macs. He probably wasn't going to hit a shot anyway. It's coming up great here. They immediately find a dude in the stands like rubbing his stomach. Which is like just excellent work by this. Like the Sixers may have been a B team at the time, but the Comcast Sportsnet camera crew was still at the top of their game. And yeah, so I mean, this is what Sixers fans cheered for was free Big Macs.
It's just kind of
like they had 14 straight home losses at that point.
Just kind of a food pantry rather than a basketball team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roz, you should finish that illustration.
It's the starry plow. It's good. It's good Irish socialist representation.
We're gonna get to
the plow and the stars. Yeah, I listen.
Basketball.
I have been to
basketball. Oh man.
Yeah. So like you're talking just a truly dreadful season. Like dudes on 10-day contracts, which is the like smallest thing you can do, and it's for like when your whole team has been blown up and died. They're just inserting them into the starting lineup, and again, like talking about players as disposable assets. Michael Carter-Williams and Tony Roten get caught on a blunt cruise by the side of the highway in New Jersey. And Nerlens Noel is back, and he hates Michael Carter-Williams. And that's what I was talking about. Like this, the players feel disposable because you've got 15 dudes playing for a roster spot. They're all making the minimum. It's like, what do you have to play for when you want to lose on purpose? Like that's demoralizing, if nothing else. Like if you're on a bad team and because of injuries or whatever, that's sort of one thing. But like I've always felt bad for not the Knicks, the team, but the Knicks, the players, because like just to be stuck on the hamster wheel of mediocrity and like because you're never good. Like you're just like. If you're a team that at least always makes it to the playoffs, even if you pull a Sixers and get vaporized by the Celtics in 4, like you have something to play for and you want to come back the next season. But like, what do you do when you're fucking losing 17 games in a row? Like you don't want to be in the record books. You're going to be utterly humiliated. People are laughing at you every night on national television. Like that feeling fucking sucks. And I think the Sixers, specifically Sam Hinkie and specifically ownership, bear the vast majority of responsibility for making players feel that way and for not sort of helping them out, as we'll see. I really do want to talk about that like later, but yeah, I think that ownership bears a huge amount of responsibility for treating these guys like just assets to be sold and bought and sort of like they're disposable. But
was there ever any pushback though, like from players?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, there was a lot of like sniping at some point. Like Joel Embiid sort of took on the process label, but he's like a transformational talent and he sort of empathized with Sam Hinkie. But a lot of these other guys, like there's an interview from Michael Carter Williams on the night of the draft the next year where they take the Dario Saric trade, where he's like, yeah, I don't know what's happening. Like in a lot of there's these interviews kind of from a few years ago where people are just like, I don't know what's happening. Like this sucks ass, dude. There's pushback from the players, but and I mean the attendance drops because like nobody wants to go watch their team get blown out by 30 every night, no matter how cheap the tickets are. I do want to say one of the things I did learn, a lot of the research is taken from a book that I will post a link to. But Brett Brown, who's coaching the Sixers, takes them on field trips. Like he takes the players to like museums and he lets them give presentations on things they find interesting. And I just love the idea of being a professional basketball player and some asshole like calling you, like if you don't get to the practice facility by 8:30, the bus isn't gonna wait for you. Like it's a school bus. And you've got all these like 6'9" dudes crammed into 20 seats. People are starting to like kick each other for floor space. Like I would have killed to be on one of those field trips. The Sixers start this season fucking 0-17. And they avoid going 0-8. I think 0-17 ties the record for the worst start in NBA history. And they only win a game because they had to play the then 2-14 Los Angeles Lakers. They were like, we don't want to be in the history books. But that's all the fight you're going to see out of this team for a while. So up here is Joel Embiid, who is starting to sort of come apart at the seams. His brother, Arthur. So Joel Embiid is Cameroonian, and he had come over to the United States for high school and then for college and obviously in the NBA. And his brother, I believe 10-year-old brother, dies in a car crash.
Jesus.
And so obviously that's really bad. I will say to Sam Hinkie's credit that his brother had also died young, and he comforted Joel when it happened. But Joel is not playing. He's hurt. He's gaining weight. His conditioning's out of control. Obviously, his brother died. So, and I would say that there's not much sympathy for him, at least at least that I remember. Dan may have a contrast to that, but I don't really remember there being a ton of sympathy for him, even though his life was, I mean, really fucking. It was getting rough. And when you're not playing, and especially when the team you're going to come back to is whatever a 10-72. Garbage fire, why would you want to play at all?
Yeah, the thing there was a report that he had gained weight because he drank so many Shirley Temples. That's something that I think people still talk about.
And I remember the Chick-fil-A milkshakes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'll reorganize the slides, but we're starting to see pushback. The players union, like Hinkie starts to basically piss off the whole league, because his lieutenants, and him fully take over. The players union advises agents to not sign with the Sixers because the Sixers
were right?
Right, because the Sixers were famous for cutting these terrible deals.
Kiss of death.
Yeah, exactly. And like, the NBA is a small world. So, if an agent thinks, oh, well, you fucked over one of my guys, why the fuck would I talk to you? And Sam Hinkie thought to himself, well, when I come and offer a max contract, of course, they'll listen then. And it's just like, maybe and maybe not. Like, it's rare that only one team offers a max contract. And even so, why would you sign a max contract to go play with the Sixers when
you're burning all of that goodwill? Because, even if agents are sharks, they still like their players, right? Sometimes
and they need to get paid. Yeah. And if your guy is being offered, a bullshit 2+2 deal, at the minimum, you're not going to get your cut either. And so
even players they drafted were like wrangling with the Sixers. This was in 2014. They took a guy named KJ McDaniels with like the first or second pick of the second round. And they couldn't come to terms on a contract because the Sixers wanted him to sign some like longer than average deal. And McDaniels and his agent didn't want to. And he ended up just signing a 1-year deal. And then they traded him for another second round pick, like toward the end of the season.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's it. It's like stockpiling picks. And KJ McDaniels, I think, is still in the league, and he's fine. He's serviceable.
I believe he was with like an NBDL team this season. Yeah. I think he's gone.
The Greensboro Swarm.
Everybody's favorite team.
Although he did play in the Philippine Basketball Association with the TNT Katropa. I've always been envious of foreign leagues, and they're just insane names.
I believe that's a sponsorship. I think that like TNT is like, let me look at Talk and Text Tropang Texters.
Awesome.
That's a
let's go Texters.
That's right. Let's go Tropang Texters. Oh no, now they're the TNT Tropang Giga.
Oh yes, I see that.
Oh yeah, I'm going to read you some of the names.
I'm gonna go back to baseball because baseball is my thing, but like I'm still very into my favorite baseball team, the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks.
Yes,
you have to say Hawks. The whole thing. Go SoftBank Hawks.
All right, here are the Tropang Gigas names. 1990 to 1992, the Pepsi Hot Shots.
That's a drink I've ordered.
Oh, wait, the next one's even better.
Go ahead, Dan.
The 7-Up Uncolas.
Then they were the Pepsi Mega Bottlers, the Mobiline Cellulars, the Mobiline Phone Pals, the Talk and Text Phone Pals.
When are they going to be like the 5G Force Femmes?
The Katropa, and now they're the Tropang Giga. I want the Sixers to have to be forced to change their name to something silly every year.
Philadelphia Texters, yeah.
In case you're not aware, and I can't believe I have to say this, 76 refers to the year the Declaration of Independence got there, was signed, not Interstate 76 outside of Philadelphia.
This is something I was confused about, right? Which is that, okay, so the 49ers, right? They're named after the 49ers, the people who went out to California.
The minor 49ers,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But we don't refer to the people who signed the Declaration of Independence as the 76ers.
No, we call them the Congressional Texters.
Yes. The Congressional Texter Gigas.
The Congressional Mega Bottlers.
Mega Founding Fathers.
Yes, the famous Congressional Uncolas. All right. So let's give you an example of, and like I have it in the notes here. Why would you buy a team if you can't afford to run it? And next slide, please.
The Philadelphia Confederation Articlers.
I'm sorry, that's York, Pennsylvania, our nation's first capital. Put some respect on our name, please. All right, I'm just going to let you guess what nationality this guy is, Alex.
This is the most Ukrainian-looking motherfucker I've seen.
Russian. This is Andrei Kirilenko.
Okay.
Here in the wrong uniform because I couldn't find one of him in the Sixers jersey.
What a shocker.
Yeah.
Seen here playing for the Utah Turbo Jazz Texters.
Yes. Yes. Mitt Romney is a fan of the Utah Turbo Jazz Texters, and I hope they never fucking win a title. I don't care how good Donovan Mitchell is. I don't want to hear it anymore. So the Sixers trade for Andrei Kirilenko. They trade a second rounder because Andrei Kirilenko is a father of two with a pregnant wife on bed rest.
How old is he?
He's 33.
Okay.
So he has told the Nets and any team that is interested in him, I am not going to report because my wife is on bed rest. I'm just not going to show up.
Yeah, and also I am 33 years old playing a sport that you stop being good at when you're 22, unless you're one of like 3 guys.
Yes, but also his nickname, Alice, I thought you would like this, is AK-47.
That is cool.
Because his jersey was 47, his initials are AK. He's from the
clever.
same town that Kalishnikov is from.
Huh.
So Andrei Kirilenko lives in Brooklyn because he plays with the Nets, and he refuses to show up. Sam Hinkie thought he would because Brooklyn to Philly isn't that far. JJ Redick could fucking do it. And he refuses to show up, like I said. So the Sixers start fining him $50,000 a day, despite what he had told them, until the union has to intervene. And I just wanted to use Andrei Kirilenko and his truly magnificent haircut. I think when I was 8, I had this haircut.
It is a junior high-ass haircut for a 30-something-year-old man.
Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with this haircut. So
this is the lead singer of a Russian emo band, not a basketball player.
The super black skinny jeans texters. Yes.
Oh yeah, but it's a Bellamy haircut.
All right, next slide, please. Right, so you might be wondering why there's a slide from the Battle of Blair Mountain.
Did they drop these guys?
I am wondering.
All right, so they trade Michael Carter Williams and failed to notify both him and his agent.
Ooh.
And his agency announces they will no longer deal with Hinkie, and that's 25% of the league.
I mean, can we just say that, like, maybe the 76ers just, like, have anxiety and are small beans and find it difficult to text people?
No, we can't. Awesome. So the Pelicans, who had been involved in the Drew Holiday, accuse Hinkie of lying about his injury history, which is probably bullshit, but it cements Sam Hinkie's reputation. The league flattens the lottery odds.
Everyone finished in this town.
Everyone hates Sam Hinkie. The Sixers finish 18-64, and I wanted to talk about what I think people do now. And I'd actually like to get some perspectives on this from everyone, since we all watch sports, even if Ross complains about it. Sports from the perspective of management now feels like the prevailing view.
Yes.
And it sucks ass to watch.
I have a pet theory about this, which I tie to, especially in football, my kind of football, not your kind of football, the growth of
soccer, Alice.
Yeah, fine. Soccer management games. Like, as much as FIFA is successful, like things like Championship Manager and then like the various franchise modes within video games, I think that's also kind of a way of normalizing a way of playing pretty much any kind of professional sport, which is just managerial.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fans, now that they have access to stuff like above the cap or whatever it is, have access to all these sort of financial transactions.
Like, and, also the other thing is every sports fan in their heart of hearts, and I include myself in this, is a big dumb idiot moron patronizing asshole who thinks I could have done that better, and if I had all of this information and this data, I would have simply run the football or whatever, right?
Yes. Marshawn Lynch at the 1 yard line and you don't run it.
Yeah, right? But like, and we all have that impulse. And so it's very, very easy to appeal to that.
Ra's thoughts?
I would have simply run the football.
I constantly find myself in Facebook arguments on like the Inquirer's Facebook page about
please do not do that.
Look, you're on this podcast now, Dan. There's no escape.
Within all of us is the kid who is currently like breaking a PS2 controller open at the clamshell because the game is like being stupid until the game itself starts up and sounds like this.
I think I'm glad you had that ready to go. That's me playing Madden 17. So
that's right.
Also, Dan, thoughts?
I once played the world champion in Madden for a story. It would have been Madden 2004, and I lost 105-6.
Cool.
I scored a touchdown down like 56-0, and I was like, well, I might as well go for 2. You know, what if I come back?
Couldn't hurt.
So I don't like. I do think there's like more of a like cult of management now. I think that it's. I don't think it's that much different than like it'll be like a great play in a football game or whatever, and then they'll show like a coach on the sideline just standing there, and it's like, no, show me the players celebrating. I think it's similar to sort of how coaches are, like, oh, they are the brains molding these men to do these great things, and management is just sort of like a lamer version of that.
I mean, it used to be like that too, a little bit, except
sure.
The personalities that they had to do that would be these like tyrants. Like, instead of these like hedge fund dipshits, you'd have like John Heisman or Tex Schramm or someone like that, right? Who you just have be interviewed being like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'll hit a player with a fucking like a phone book or something.
I mean, Dick Vermeil, the coach of the Eagles in the 70s and 80s, who took them to a Super Bowl. I mean, he was nicknamed the Little Dictator.
Yeah. But like there was this, I think you're right, and I just think there's been this this kind of turn from that kind of guy who was his own particular kind of tyrant to like the hedge fund tyrant, and it's so much lamer. Give me the like small team psycho, please.
Oh, sorry, I got up to get a Red Bull. So
I was just talking about John Heisman.
I was thinking though, like, coaches are really celebrities in their own right now. Like Nick Saban is in Aflac ads, and just like Bill Belichick in Subway ads.
Oh,
I can't believe that like Subway finally settled on a replacement for Jared, and it's Bill Belichick.
Yeah, we need to find somebody more intrinsically repulsive than our last try.
Belichick's pretty fucking close, and I say that like, but like the cult of Patriots fans around Bill Belichick, and like I feel, Alice, you're absolutely right, because when Tom Brady was like, I'm gonna leave and go to Tampa Bay, I was just like, now I finally get to root against Tom Brady, and I just like hate watching Bucs games, and I'm just like, I fucking hope like the word, like I've just become like mask off real piece of shit sports fan.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I hope he breaks both his femurs and fucking dies.
Yeah, that's half the fun of liking sports is you get to be a big dumb idiot piece of shit asshole as much as you want.
That's absolutely right. It like.
Run the football.
Run the football. Again, Marshawn Lynch, 1 yard line.
Run the goddamn football.
Although, thanks for not running the football because
John Heisman would have run the football.
Yeah, John Heisman would have run the football and also
Russell
been
Wilson's
friends
a great
with
quarterback,
me.
Alas.
Or John Heisman would have agreed with everything I think to do.
I like to think that. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's a child sobbing when the Knicks drafted Kristaps Porzingis. I have this and the crying Villanova flute girl on like a loop in my head.
You have this linked on your desktop for whenever you need it.
Yeah. So Kristaps Porzingis is a 7'3" basketball player from Latvia, who has the rare ability to also shoot threes and can really dominate all over the place. His agent refuses to meet with the Sixers, basically, and just kept lying to Sam Hinkie. I was just like, no, I don't know where he is. We can't, maybe. Like, he basically ghosted Sam Hinkie.
Good. Fuck him, he deserves it.
Yeah, he does. So instead of that, they draft Jahlil Okafor. And I remember Jahlil Okafor holding up his Sixers jersey when they draft a guy and then like immediately throwing it down.
Oh boy.
And I was just like, oh, this is how the franchise is doing, huh? So they basically, at least in my opinion, sort of drafted Jahlil Okafor based on his trade value, because the guy had fallen in draft rankings. I don't especially remember that draft being anything amazing. But Porzingis is now like a legit star, albeit on a different team. He's not on the Knicks, thank God. And Jahlil Okafor is sucking ass on the Pelicans. But we'll get back to him. Roz, are you still there? Did he just bounce?
It may interest you to know, by the way, while we're filling time, that Lil G had a Twitter account at Lil G Sixes.
Yep.
43 followers, and did not tweet since 2014. When did he die again?
Last year.
Oh, wow.
That's a damn shame. All right, Dan, who do you think's going to win? Because somebody has to. Tomorrow night, who you got?
Wait, what? Who do I have?
Yeah, Eagles Giants, baby.
Oh,
It's the toilet
Giants.
bowl.
Oh, Eagles are going to win. They've looked pretty good in their last 2 losses. They're still not good, but I think they're going to win the NFC East now. But that's probably just me being a big stupid idiot. Did you know that the Villanova crying Piccolo girl is an eye doctor now?
Yes, I did know that because my girlfriend went to knew her brother in high school.
Oh, okay.
And she graduated. She showed me a picture of him, the brother, and the crying Villanova flute girl at her doctoral graduation. And then I responded by putting up on our 65-inch TV the gif of her crying. There's these people who are like, oh, you shouldn't laugh at crying kids at sports games, and I'm just like, no, it's fucking funny.
Yeah, because
they're
it's
a Knicks
sports.
fan. I don't care.
Yeah, because it's a sports game, because it's not anything serious in real life, and because, as I've said, sports is the avenue where you get to be a real piece of shit anytime you want. You could just be like, no, that's fucking hilarious.
That's the best part of the Little League World Series is that you get to see children cry on ESPN.
Oh yeah, Roz, are we gonna get a signature? Do you want to split duties? And one of us live tweets the debate, and one of us live tweets the Eagles game. But
I don't want to watch the debate.
Am I gonna have to take the debate and you watch the Eagles game?
Yes.
All right. Look forward to that from our Twitter feed on Thursday the 22nd. It's going to be dueling updates, and we're not going to differentiate which one's which. So you're going to get a lot of just fuck you in all caps.
You should just write them all as if they could apply to either event.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
you just tweet as an hour into both. Holy shit! Did that guy just die?
Could be either one.
Yeah.
All right. So
Fucking Biden chokes at 4th and 1.
No, you play to win the game. I'm sorry, you fucking punt with 19 seconds left for what? To save the tie?
Are you suggesting that Biden is tanking the presidential?
No, I would like it if it's 4th and 12 with 19 seconds, you fucking throw the ball. It doesn't matter. There's probably no way they're gonna run it back. And if someone scores a 102-yard pick six on you to win the game, then so be it. But no.
I think I can write about. I think I can talk about this on here. I don't know when this episode will drop, but I don't think I'm spoiling my story. I'm working on a story. It's actually done about Joe Biden's high school football career.
Wow!
Oh boy!
And his team was terrible. And then in the last game of Biden's junior year, Biden scored 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. And then in his senior year, he scored 10 touchdowns total. And led his team to only its 3rd undefeated record ever. I don't know about led. He wasn't the captain, but he was one of the stars of the team. But I found this really inauspicious play. I'm going to read you the newspaper recap of it. I just pulled it up. Quarterback Bill Peterman connected with a 20-yard pass to left halfback Joe Biden, who snared it on the Maroon 19. Biden looked like he was going all the way into pay dirt, but he was nailed on the 1, and St. Andrews made a successful goal line stand for 4 downs to prevent a score. So let's hope that's not what happens next month in the election.
Oh, God.
It's okay. The Democrats will get a better draft pick in 2024.
Oh, God. Next slide, please. I'm proud of this one.
Oh, we got there in the end.
Yeah, I told you. So the Plow and the Stars is a bar in Old City, Philadelphia, which is too loud on the weekends and nice every time else. I have spent many nights there. They're open on Christmas. 2 times ago when I was there, the runner told me, and I'm quoting directly here, try not to make an ass of yourself. Absolutely fantastic bar. And we'll get there. So 2015-2016 season, the Sixers drop 18 in a row, which actually does tie the record. And they beat the Lakers to avoid it. They start 1-30. So I want to talk about. So Embiid was supposed to come back and he didn't. So Jahlil Okafor started. I want to talk about Jahlil Okafor a bit. So Jahlil Okafor played college ball, I believe, at Duke. He'd had a very hard life. He has had a hard life. No bullshit. His mom had breathing difficulties and choked to death in front of him when he was 8, and he's talked about it a bit because he thought she was fucking with him, so he was like laughing, and she died.
Jesus, how did he become a professional basketball player and not the fucking Joker?
Yeah, especially because his dad was like, by all accounts, kind of the same situation, that he had been raised by a single parent and just like had gotten into a lot of shit. And really, I guess, encouraged Jahlil Okafor, and a family friend really encouraged him to sort of stick with it and keep playing. But one of the first nights, I think he's actually on the Sixers. And remember, the kid is not 21 at this point. He gets in a fight at 2nd and Walnut in Old City. And he's been drinking supposedly a lot. So like this is a thing that comes up a bit. It turns out Jahlil Okafor has just been drinking like a lot. And sort of management's unaware of this. And then the night before Thanksgiving, he gets into a fight in Boston and TMZ publishes the video. But yeah, so Jahlil Okafor has had a hard life, and there's I'd actually recommend watching it. There's a there's a Netflix documentary on Aaron Hernandez, and who, if you'll remember, was convicted of murder. He played tight end for the New England Patriots, and there's this common thread that sort of runs through it where they talk about if just someone had intervened, like, and had actually taken this kid aside and been like, "Hey man, like, are you okay? Like, let's get you some help." Or if management had like given a shit as opposed to just like,
but they don't, and they've stripped all of the like older mentor figures out of the team anyway.
And that's one of the things to talk about, is that like there's no veteran presence on this team. Like there's
we were talking about earlier. We were talking about the Knicks, right? That's a good reason to pay like an older guy who may not be so good anymore a decent amount of money to stick around.
And the Sixers did it actually. They end up doing that with a guy who does, because like, you know, your fellow player coming up to you and saying, "What the fuck was that?" holds a lot more weight than your coach doing it. But yeah, so that's sort of another encapsulation of where the Sixers are. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Philly during the riots. So the flaming garbage dump in back is the Sixers franchise.
Right click, set as wallpaper.
So I was talking, I have a note here about like organizational malfeasance, and that's truly what I sort of believe the Sixers are doing and have been doing with these guys. Lance Williams, then the head of security for the Sixers, I'm not sure if he still is concerned for Jahlil and basically tells Hinkie to his face that he's a piece of shit for treating his players like this. So when I talk about, you know, the idea of organizational malfeasance and treating these guys as disposable, it's important to remember, yeah, they have a lot of money, but like they're 19 years old, and you sure as shit were an idiot when you were 19 too.
Yeah. Yep.
Next slide, please.
Man, we're really blasting through these.
You know, I still got like 10 slides to go. So,
and I went on like a 20-minute rant about Sixers mascots earlier. So,
R.I.P. hip hop, rip hop, if you will. So this is, this is Brian Colangelo.
Another
Derek Colangelo.
Another very unsettling photograph you've brought here.
So the Sixers, December 7th, 2015, I didn't get around to superimposing Jerry Colangelo's face on like the Arizona blowing up at Pearl Harbor. So this is out your heads. So Jerry Colangelo's like, Harris is starting to hear it from other owners. He's starting to hear it from fans that like this team truly is a laughing stock. And like they're just not very good. So there's pressure on him to sort of turn the ship around and they bring on Jerry Colangelo. He's been around the league for ages. He turned around the Phoenix Suns. He's well known. He's well respected. He's the kind of guy who doesn't mind being seen as a savior. And they also
who does mind being seen as a savior?
That's true. That's true.
They call him Mr. Too Damn Basketball.
They do call him. Oh God.
They absolutely do not call him that.
I had a chicken sandwich for dinner, and I chased it with a Red Bull.
Oh boy!
And I just had the worst heartburn.
Ooh,
nice.
Yeah. So, like I said, they bring him on. They bring in Mike D'Antoni, who goes on to coach the Rockets. And Jerry Colangelo's first move is to trade 2 second-round picks, and we'll see this happen again for half a season of like a journeyman basketball player named Ish Smith. So you're starting to see sort of the contrast in visions. We'll say. And they also add Elton Brand to the player development staff. He had just retired as a Sixer. Elton Brand's going to become important for his not very good job he's doing. But they won't fire him because they're morons and Josh Harris is a moron. Next slide, please. This is his son, Brian Colangelo.
Oh, I knew we were going to get a fail son eventually.
Oh, buddy, are we? Oh, just you wait. So they bring on Brand. They restructured the front office to lessen Sam Hinkie's power, and Colangelo and his ownership bring on, after an exhaustive search, his son.
How do you think the interview for that job went?
Yeah, hey, Dad, can I have a job?
Yeah, son, you want to be GM of the Sixers?
Okay.
Thanks, Dad. So he had been executive of the year like in 2007 on the Raptors, and they didn't hire the other guy because the other guy had said some real racist shit on a conference call about an African player. And Hinkie resigns April 6th, 2016. Next slide, please. All right, this is the Hinkie resignation letter, which is famous because it is the weirdest MIT Sloan shit where he talks about zigging instead of zagging.
I have been serving the Sixers at your pleasure. What a West Wing ass sentence.
He wrongly quotes Abraham Lincoln. He quotes Elon Musk.
Let me talk about the Lincoln quote, because it's one of those things where it's a letter that just quotes a lot of famous people in lieu of writing yourself. And here we go. Here's an excerpt from the letter. A league with 30 intense competitors requires a culture of finding new, better ways to solve repeating problems. In the short term, investing in that sort of innovation often doesn't look like much progress, if any. Abraham Lincoln said, quote, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." Now, so 2 things. 1, he didn't say it. 2, he quoted a former president about chopping down a tree, and it wasn't George Washington.
Yes, it is a Criminal Minds ass quote, which also the hedge fund mentality of needing to solve basketball, as if people what people want to see is not competition or sports or drama or entertainment, but they want to see a problem be solved.
Just when I wrote about that fake quote, I looked into it, and the original citations of that quote were a famous woodsman or a great woodsman, and it's oh yeah, that's who makes a lot more sense of quoting about how to chop down a tree than Abe Lincoln.
Famously didn't know shit about chopping down trees.
Yeah.
I don't know that it takes 4 hours to sharpen an axe.
You're probably damaging your axe head.
Yeah.
Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll do it in a half hour, and then play video games for the next 5.5.
I can grab a chainsaw or something. This is not hard.
Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will hire a guy to chop down the tree who knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
Here's another quote. We should concentrate our efforts in a few key areas in ways others have proven unwilling. We should attempt to gain a competitive advantage that had a chance to be lasting, hopefully one unforeseen enough by our competition to leapfrog them from a seemingly disadvantaged position. A goal that lofty is anything but certain, and it sure doesn't come from those that are content to color within the lines.
It's not the critic who counts, shit like that. Yeah, fine,
He
whatever.
also says, when he's talking, he says the sentence, "I will be repotted professionally."
Excuse me?
Talking about finding a new job. And he says he wanted competitors to believe he was doing a poor job on purpose to prevent them from copying him. And he says in the letter, "Call me old-fashioned, but sometimes the optimal place for your light is hiding directly under a bushel."
Now, this reminds me of nothing more than the 4chan reaction comic, which was jokes on you, I was only pretending to be, and then it's a slur that you can probably imagine. Like, come on, man. No, I tanked the team on purpose because of the long game.
He talks about missing BlackBerry's keyboards. Quote, "I still miss BlackBerry's keyboard, but the 2007 iPhone debut rendered it nearly obsolete to all but a few of us curmudgeons." He also talks about a flightless bird at one point.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
The best thing about this letter, I think, is that when he handed it in, the Sixers ownership was not sure whether he had resigned or not.
I like the concept of solving basketball, like mathematically solving it, like
Yes,
those
like
chess programs can do,
yeah.
right? Where like suddenly every single game of basketball ends in some sort of deadlock.
Well, like this is
that
a
you're
John
not
Boyce
previously
like,
aware of.
Yeah, that is like a John Boyce ass like 1770-76 thing of football. Like once you have enough time, football becomes a solved game, and you just have to get weird with it, right? So, yeah, why not? He was just taking a long view.
I'm glad you said that. From page 4, quote, "While some organizations like ours have this as part of their ethos," yeah, it's 13 pages long.
Fuck me.
"For others, it is the ethos. Check out the 10,000-year clock. It is no mere thought experiment, but an actual clock being designed to be placed inside a mountain in West Texas, wound and left to tick and chime for 10,000 years. Why? Because it designed something that lasts that long makes all of us consider what the world will look like between now and then. In return, we might be inspired to do something about it." You resigned from a basketball team, Sam. And the last quote I have is, "Wins are a zero-growth industry. Parentheses, how many of you regularly choose to invest in those? And the only way up is to steal share from your competitors. You will have to do something different. You will have to be contrarian."
This is a powerful document of like late capitalist ideology. It's
also quotes Jeff Bezos, like, just
I saw the Warren Buffett reference. Yeah, no, great, cool.
All right. So the Sixers finish 10-72. And they draft. Yep.
And they're chanting.
They draft Ben Simmons, who was, at least to his credit, they got the number 1 pick and they used it on Ben Simmons, who also misses his rookie season with an injury. Ben Simmons is really fucking good, but he can't shoot.
I think it's a great idea that you draft the best player you can find, and then as soon as you do that, your head of security comes up behind him in the parking lot and hits his knee with a baton.
Oh yeah. And then we've got Embiid's finally ready. Dario Saric is here now. Robert Covington, who they picked out of the scrap pile, is good.
It's all coming together.
Colangelo has not been forthcoming about injuries. Next slide, please. Dan, you remember this?
I do remember this.
All right. Do you remember the injury cover-up?
Like vaguely. I do. I mean, I feel like it's sports. There are always injury cover-ups.
That's true. That's true.
But yes, Embiid had knee issues and then was seen dancing on stage at a concert. I forget who it was. Meek Mill, of course.
So he blows up his leg Colangelo sort of misrepresents the situation. He's not forthcoming to the media. He has to get rid of 3 centers. He has a logjam at center that he's inherited. And Nerlens Noel, who you remember from blowing his leg up and dying, is back. And he demands more touches and minutes, so he gets his ass traded. They trade him for 2 second-rounders, Justin Anderson, no relation. Although I guess maybe it's just me and Roz combined to be a basketball player.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 6'2", and we're not very good.
True process believers count the Nerlens Noel date as the end of the process. When Nerlens was traded, that is the end of the process.
It's gotten worse. And
putting up a big marble monument to the process.
Well, no, there is a banner at Xfinity Live, which is the big giant sports bar stadium complex. There's a big Sam Hinkie head banner with the dates of the process. And
it just looks like the thing from the BioShock Lighthouse about the Great Chain of Being.
Yes, this shit is literally a cult. So Andrew Bogut, they also get Andrew Bogut out of this. They waive him and he becomes good on the Warriors. Or at least he wins the title on the Warriors. Simmons misses entire rookie season. Next slide, please. Yes, here is where the taunting starts. The 2018 draft and Markelle Fultz, and I just have in the notes LOL.
You have it twice.
I do. Yes. I really wanted to rub it in. So Dan, do you remember not the catastrophe after, but do you remember that draft?
I do. Yeah, I guess I remember that draft.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thanks, Dan. So
they traded up for Markelle Fultz, who was widely considered the top prospect in the draft. But I mean, that doesn't really mean anything. Like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Right. So the Sixers trade up for him, and they send the Celtics a future first rounder for Jason Tatum, seen here about to score. Jason Tatum has blossomed into one of the league's young superstars, and Markelle Fultz is currently on the Orlando Magic, and we'll see why. So at the time, I will say it was a good pick, but things are going to get worse, as they always do for this team. Next slide, please. Yeah, so actually, let me get my girlfriend. I'll be right back, because she was at this game.
Why am I getting Javits Center 2016 vibes?
Right.
Just a little bit, just a touch with the...
Just a little bit.
Did you have the glass ceiling confetti that they had?
Yeah, they had a good metaphor planned, and it did not come out.
Glass ceiling remained intact.
Yeah, it just donked right off it like a bird. I wonder what Joe Biden has planned for the victory announcement and like how Trump is going to ruin it.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, Megan. So both of my roommates are here.
Hello.
Hi, Liam's roommates.
Hi, Corinne.
Yeah, talk into that. All right. Can you tell me what you remember about that game?
About the Marco Bellinelli game?
Yes.
So I was looking through my Snapchat memories today. I have all these videos from it. It was an amazing game. Like, it was a blast. And I had been in school that day. I was in college.
Oh God.
And it was great. They did the thing at halftime where Franklin climbs the like 40-foot ladder and he holds up a sign over it facing near death, which was exciting. But yeah, so everyone's like filming, everyone's on their feet, everyone's like terrified, and the inbound it. Sorry, I just walked up the stairs. I'm exhausted. Marco's in the corner, and like, you know what's gonna happen because they put Marco in. Marco hadn't been in. They took out TJ McCollum. McConnell, whatever. Who's TJ McCollum?
You're thinking of CJ McCollum, who's on the plate.
Wow, I made a new person. And so he he shoots what very clearly is a 3. His foot's like just over. And I mean, we swore on our lives in there that we had just won the game. The confetti's going down. I'm literally grabbing it to keep as a keepsake for this awesome game that I was a part of. And then they said over the loudspeaker that we had not won the game, that we were going to overtime.
Oh no.
And it was like truly, it was silent because like the screams like slowly died down. And then it was quiet for like 2 whole minutes as like I'm like taking the confetti back out of my pockets and putting it
throw it back up.
I don't want these. And then and then we lost. So
oh God.
The leaving was honestly the hardest part because everyone was like silent on the way out. And like the only other time I've heard it that quiet was when I watched the Flyers lose the Stanley Cup in Philly. So that wasn't fun. But yeah, everyone was like just kind of quiet. And then we were outside and some dude turns to me and my like teenage sister and he's like, yo, what the fuck? And I was like, man, I could not tell you. But yeah, that's what happened.
Incredible. Thank you.
Yes.
It took them 8.5 minutes to clean up the confetti.
I said while you were getting Corinne that I had like Javits Center vibes, like with the glass ceiling confetti that Hillary had.
Yes, Javits Center vibe. Exactly. Yeah, they were ready, and the Sixers end up losing that game, and the Sixers go down 3-0, and I believe that was the second round of the playoffs. They had actually beaten the Heat.
Yes.
So they had been. So they were. This. It felt like I think the Sixers were finally back. Ben Simmons, is when he's back is a fucking monster. Meek Mill was there at one point. They flew him in via helicopter.
Wait, are you saying that Meek Mill is the Sixers is like is to the Sixers as Drake is to the Maple Leafs? Raptors. Sorry,
the Raptors. Yes, except that much like what Drake did to Meek Mill on back-to-back, the Raptors are going to do to the Sixers. Good.
Come on.
Right, bye. Thank you.
Can't believe I said Maple Leafs. What's wrong with me? That's true.
So, next slide, please. Right. The burner.
You're a bit far from the mic. It's
burner Twitters. Burner Twitters.
Too close. Back up.
Twitters.
The burner Twitters. The burner Twitters.
Yeah.
Burner Twitters.
The burner bros.
Dan,
the burner bros.
Dan, would you mind explaining this story? Because
Sure.
I think this is a good one.
So in February of 2018, The Ringer publishes an article that says that Brian Colangelo is operating 5 burner Twitter accounts that basically just reply to like tweets that are like attacking the tweets that are like attacking Colangelo. These accounts have been going after them. I don't quite remember if the Ringer article said this or not. It was Colangelo's wife. What's funny is when those accounts were made public, I looked and I had one of the accounts muted, which means that it tweeted something at me that was so nonsense that I was just like, forget it. I never want to see this person again. What an idiot I was. I should have been looking into it and being like, oh, this is obviously a Colangelo. But
always up Twitter cranks. Always.
And there is some, I think what could be considered or maybe is confidential type information that are contained in some of these tweets.
For instance, that Brian Colangelo is good, actually.
That Jahlil Okafor had failed a physical.
Yeah,
that had never been claimed publicly. He defends Brian, like the burner accounts defend Brian Colangelo's shirt collars.
Yeah, and he does. Brian Colangelo wears, so like his wife is, I believe, Italian, and he wears like Italian shirts, which are like they have bigger collars. And so
hold on, I have to scroll back up to look at this guy's fucking shirt. That is a big collar.
So the thing that one of the Twitter accounts says was like, "That's a normal collar. Find a new slant."
No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm looking at them now. They keep getting bigger. Each thing that I look at, the shirt collars get bigger.
There have been some, I think, some photoshops where he looks like the Turtley Club from Master of the Skies.
Yes. So yeah, they shit can Colangelo after this. There's stuff with like he's tweeting at Joel Embiid from the burners, being like, "You're a piece of you're a piece of shit." It was incredible. I will link that Ringer article when this goes up, because that was truly, of all the dumb Philly stories we've ever had, like that was just so fucking Philly. It was absolutely fucking insane.
Twitter drama. It comes for us all sooner or later.
The tone of this first tweet is very much Brian, he's got big collars. They're so big, folks.
Big collars. He protected
Very
the
large.
kid, not pass his physical with the other team. Give the guy a break for caring about Jay's future. That's so fucking funny.
Oh, yeah.
Next slide, please. We get to look at Markelle Fultz look like a Make-A-Wish kid.
Fucking hell.
That was the description. That because so Markelle Fultz forgets how to shoot. He was supposed to be sort of the missing piece in this Sixers team and wasn't. And there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of like back and forth between his camp and the Sixers themselves. He claims he's injured. The Sixers are like, yeah, he's injured, but we don't really know anything about it. He sees a bunch of shoulder specialists not affiliated with the Sixers. Because you look at his form, that's not how it looked in college. And the kid is just, nobody knows what's going on. There's like I said, a ton of information just floating around. But the short answer is that Markelle Fultz either got the yips or was injured and didn't tell anyone, or something else. And that's again right up there with weird Philly sports stories, that this guy just maybe has the yips, but nobody knows.
Hyper early case of the Rona.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. He has like thoracic outlet syndrome. He eventually
He's got like EM sensitivity. Only ball in the national radiomagnetic quiet zone.
It's amazing that he played like the first couple games and looked like this, and then he was out for a bit. Then he came back, and like I believe in the last game of the regular season, he had a triple-double. So for someone who like forgot how to shoot, it's amazing still how like, oh, he was able to compete in an NBA game. Like maybe he would have been good if he hadn't forgotten how to shoot.
Yeah, he's decent on the Magic, I will say that. But it's just kind of like for a number one overall pick to go like this is
very, very Sixers.
Yes.
Maybe he also meant Magic Johnson, who made him forget how to play basketball.
He should be. That's what the new Space Jam should be. It should be about Markelle Fultz.
Yes, but he suddenly gets all the power. Him and J.R. Smith and a bunch of weirdos team up and go 82-0. I'd watch that movie.
I like it. It sounds better than the current Space Jam plot, which is
Space Jam 2, I can't wait.
Throw all of our IP into one movie nightmare.
Yeah, I'm so fucking excited to watch LeBron realize in real time that Bugs Bunny isn't real. So Elton Brand. So there's a power vacuum. The Sixers trade their draft pick, who was Mikal Bridges, for a guy named Zaire Smith, and the first rounder. So there's this power vacuum again in true Sixers form. Nobody knows what's happening. Elton Brand is named GM September 18th, 2018.
What, the guy who sucked?
The guy who was head of player development. He's the current GM.
And sucked?
And he sucks. Yeah. Yeah, he sucks. We'll get there. Don't worry. And he made it clear that, or Harris made it clear, ownership made it clear that Elton Brand would have to inherit Colangelo's execs, and ownership would be involved again.
So even if he didn't suck, he still had to like carry this extra weight of this guy's gigantic collars.
His ego. No, not Brian Colangelo, the owner, Josh Harris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he owns Harris Casino.
Huh.
Which they
Not
claim is in
anymore.
Philly. No, not he sold it.
Well, it went bankrupt, and so
Oh, there
Apollo
you go.
Global Management.
How
Yeah,
do
he
you go
managed to.
bankrupt running a casino?
We
I
went to
thought only
Donald
Trump
Trump's.
was that dumb.
We went there. Roz and I went there.
Yeah, you
it was
told
one
the
of
story on a previous Patreon
Did
episode.
I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the van
So
one.
I'm not sure if Apollo Global Management still has any equity in the Harrah's Caesars chain. But I believe that it was all wiped out in the bankruptcy. Now they bought it with debt, so it's it's one of those things.
As
Is
this
that
video
the one near
loops,
Franklin Mills?
No, that's Parks. But like he owned the whole Apollo owned the whole Harrah's Caesars chain. So casinos in Atlantic City, Pennsylvania, Nevada.
wow,
And
so he
lots of
didn't
other
just fuck up
places.
one casino, but a bunch of them. Also, I'm watching this video of your man fucking up the shot here and forgetting how to shoot, and I'm enjoying the audience just kind of like watching totally impassively, like when it goes on.
Yeah,
it's just
they're
like,
Wizards fans. This is how it works.
yeah, just like, well, this is certainly a game of basketball.
I went to Michael Jordan's first game as a Wizard. My dad got the tickets. We were living in York, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And I remember being so excited. And then it was just, and then I was like, yeah, I'm a Wizards fan now. And just worst decision I've ever made. John Wall is a good player. I'll die on this hill. Next slide, please. Jimmy Butler. So I want to take a minute to talk about a guy who is not on screen right now, and that's Ben Simmons. So Ben Simmons plays for the Sixers. He, like I said earlier, was drafted number 1. He's a really good player, but there are some flaws here. He won't shoot threes, which in the modern NBA you need to do. And he
can't or just won't?
Nobody knows. He has shot them, but like he's very reluctant to do so. This is one of the
I just don't like it.
Great enduring Sixers mysteries. He's never really given a straight answer other than basically, I don't think I need to.
Yeah, he's hit maybe like 5 of them in his career.
Every time he shoots one, it's like landing on the moon for the first time.
Yeah.
So Ben Simmons is feasting on bad teams, but the Sixers regress. Ben Simmons' brother, his name is Liam, and he becomes Ben Simmons' shooting coach, and Ben Simmons' free throw percentage drops from 71 to 60%. That's really bad.
We love nepotism, don't we, folks?
Yeah, it's a whole team full of it.
It's incredible how these people just suck basketball skill out of other people.
Yeah, the thing that Michael Jordan does, they also can do to you.
Yeah.
We've so many better plots for the new Space Jam.
we're just discovering the existence of basketball vampirism.
Yeah, so Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons don't and haven't ever, I think, in my opinion, fit especially well together. And we're gonna make that worse. So on November 12th, 2018, Jimmy Butler and Justin Patton are traded from the Timberwolves for Jared Bayless, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, if you'll remember him, and a 2022 second rounder, which, to be fair, for the Sixers is a phenomenal trade. And I want to give a bit of background on how Jimmy Butler left the Minnesota Timberwolves and came to Philly, because this is a thing I need a 30 for 30 on, and they haven't given it to me. So Jimmy Butler is tired of playing in Minnesota because they suck ass, and he starts demanding a trade so he can get it the hell out of Minnesota, where basketball talent goes to die. And there's this story about a practice when he wasn't officially with the team because he was demanding to be traded, he was being held out, where he and the Timberwolves third stringers whooped up on the starting 5 for the Timberwolves, and Jimmy Butler spent the entire practice cursing, yelling, threatening to sleep with their star center's mother, or fuck his girlfriend, I believe he said. And they eventually do, in fact, trade Jimmy Butler. but I need a 30 for 30 on that practice. I need cell phone video of Jimmy Butler saying to Karl Anthony Towns, who was like 5 inches taller from him, I'm going to fuck your girlfriend. Like that I need. And Jimmy Butler is now on the Miami Heat, and for reasons we'll get to. He's one of my favorite basketball players. He's Michael Jordan levels of sociopathic competitor. And he's had a hard life too. His mom kicked him out when he was 13. She said, and I'm quoting verbatim here, "I don't like the look of you," and kicked him out of her own house. He goes to a junior college, goes on to Marquette, RIP the Big East, or the good Big East. And then gets drafted by the Bulls, goes to the Timberwolves, the Sixers, and now he's on the Heat. For what it's worth, this is one area where Josh Harris actually didn't totally screw the pooch, because Harris engineered this trade. Next slide, please. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
Hey, Dan. You like that? You like that picture, Dan?
Not so much.
I didn't put in the picture of Joel Embiid crying because so let's talk about the Tobias Harris trade and the end of the 2018-2019 season. Okay. In a multi-team deal, the 2020 first rounder, 2021 first rounder, 2 second round picks, which I have in the notes as sucks. Landry Shamet, Mike Muscala, and Wilson Chandler, for Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic, who is 7 feet 3 inches tall and is hilarious, and Mike Scott, who once got in a fight with Eagles fans at an Eagles tailgate. Yeah, he plays for the Sixers.
That was another crack. I mean, it was whoever was the Sixers head of security was with Mike Scott at that event. At the tailgate in the parking lot, and it did not. Mike Scott still managed to get into a fight. It was not his fault, really, though. It was. No,
he got called the N-word, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. It was drunk Eagles fans.
Yeah, who call? Yeah,
that sounds about right.
All the people I wouldn't want to fight, a Sixers bench player who's like averaging like 5 points in 8 minutes a game, but who's still like 6'8" and could probably like take my limbs apart and reassemble them elsewhere. Like, I wouldn't want to do that. But that's just this fucking city, man. Let's see. They dumped Markelle Fultz for 2 first rounders and Jonathan Simmons, which is actually a brilliant trade. So they basically bet the farm on winning now with Tobias Harris, who was going to be a free agent at the end of the season anyway. So this is an Elton Brand decision. He essentially gives up the future, goes all in, and what happens? Roz, can you guess?
I assume it's something very good.
Could you play the audio of "Is This the Dagger"?
Is this the dagger?
So
is that a noise that 2 announcers make when something good happens?
You hear the ball bouncing around the rim before
4
that.
times.
Yeah.
4 times.
Do you want that drop again? Because I want it again.
Is this the dagger?
Donk, 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 donk.
So the man who is currently squatting in this image is Kawhi Leonard, who has just hit a buzzer beater in Game 7 of the second round of the playoffs and has sent the Sixers home. So the Sixers go all in. They have now mortgaged the future for Tobias Harris, who is a good, not great basketball player. And they have nothing to show for it. Maybe not nothing. I believe in my heart of hearts that had the Sixers won that game, they probably would have won the NBA championship. Dan, I don't know if you agree with that. But
I don't agree with that. But
I really don't. Because you think they would have been vaporized by the Bucks or by the Warriors?
They would have lost to somebody. I don't know. It's the Sixers. I can't assume 2 series wins when since 2012 they've won 2 series total. Like, I can't assume that they would win 2 more series. It's the Sixers.
Oh man. I also have a note in here that just says Al Horror, and I think I meant Al Horford. So after they lose, they sign Tobias Harris to a very nearly max deal, and they let Jimmy Butler, who's the obviously better player, go. And that's just, I think, representative of Elton Brand as a manager, as a GM, just making these idiotic, boneheaded decisions that really fuck the team over. And it's emblematic, I think, of Josh Harris. The Sixers have had 5 GMs under his ownership. It hasn't even been a decade since he bought the team. And I don't think it's possible to build a sustainable winning culture with that sort of organizational malfeasance. The Sixers signed Al Horford away from my beloved Boston Celtics, but it doesn't matter. Next slide, please.
They got Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, so this is Space Jam 2. So we'll talk about the 2019-2020 season. Once again, at least in my opinion, there's fit issues. The Sixers are the tallest and slowest team in basketball. I read somewhere that the Sixers would be 82-0 if they were playing in 1993. Dan, I'd be interested to get your thoughts about that specifically. Redundant skill sets and fit issues.
Yeah, I mean, they just in my lifetime, the Sixers have really not had many players who can shoot. Like, this is an ongoing issue. But yeah, it's a league where the Sixers actually have like guys whose mid-range jumper percentage is high enough that you actually can shoot them, but like you don't need 15 of those guys. And yeah, they just weren't very good this year. They like pre-COVID shutdown in the bubble. They just weren't very solid. And Al Horford was a player who dominated the Sixers when he was on the Celtics, and he was very disappointing this season. And Harris was kind of disappointing, and Simmons still doesn't shoot threes, and Embiid still seems like he's not in shape. And I like Embiid a lot. But they don't appear to be headed in the right direction anymore.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do want to say, so the Sixers paid Al Horford $100 million to be a backup, and I can also play backup at Josh Harris. When you're ready, Roz and we can split duties. Although he can't play on Thursday
because he played for the Sixers once. You can do it again.
But Roz has got to play right guard on Thursday for the Eagles. So remember what I told you, man. Hand down, man down. Get that stance for anybody. So in the bubble, if you guys aren't aware, the NBA shut down at the beginning of COVID because a player on the Utah Jazz licked all the microphones. A thing that did happen. Rudy Gobert, who plays for the Utah Jazz, was just like, COVID's not real. And then he touched each mic individually. And then the league shut down when it turned out Rudy Gobert had tested positive for coronavirus. So the entire NBA goes into a bubble at Walt Disney World. Shown here is starting point guard for the Miami Heat, Mickey Mouse, about to lay the hammer down on LeBron James. But in the bubble, the Sixers once again get vaporized by the Celtics in 4. I turned into like my dad at the 2004 ALCS when he started screaming at Yankees fans that nobody would ever love them, and that he was glad they were all so sad, and that they were in a stupid city and none of them would come to the Bronx normally. Just absolute taunting goon shit. The Sixers fire their coach Brett Brown. Which I don't particularly think was fair, simply because the bubble was so fucked up that I don't think it's really reasonable to fire a coach after that. And I think, again, a lot of the blame lies on ownership. Next slide, final slide.
We're getting another 10 hours on this one.
Yeah.
Do you like this? You like that? I did that myself. So also it's worth noting that the new coach of the Sixers used to coach the Celtics and we won a title for us as our coach. So I have a few questions for group discussion. Did the process work?
No.
You want to elaborate on that, or you just want to?
Oh no, I just don't think it worked. I don't think it worked. I'm not trusting the process.
That's good. That's why this is Zencaster group name. Dan, thoughts?
So no, but you know who it worked for was ownership. When they and it's not entirely the processes doing. When the NBA was in like a down period when Comcast sold the team to Josh Harris's group, it was like people were like, oh, this is like, it's like LeBron, he's never really going to become a star. He's never going to do anything. And like, there, it was right before the rise of the Warriors. And, and I guess LeBron had already maybe won a title when they sold the team, but maybe not. But either way, it was like more of a down period, and then it sort of hit a rise at that point. And the franchise is like worth a lot more than when they bought it. They got New Jersey to pay them $82 million to build their practice facility and a big billboard for Philadelphia in Camden, just across the river from Philly. They have way more season ticket holders now, and part of that was because they were able to be like, hey, we have this process and we're on the rise up. Even after Hinkie quit, they were able to sort of be like, look, we have this plan and it's finally coming to fruition and this is the future. So like, no, it didn't work, but it did work for the owners in the sense that like they've made a lot of money, which is like a really sad lesson. This is like, it's a really sad way to put it, but that's sort of how I feel about it. Like it didn't work, but obviously I think the owners of the Sixers and the executives would prefer to win, but they're mostly concerned with making a return on their investment so that they can go, bankrupt some more casinos. And they're going to make a big return on their investment when they eventually sell the team.
All sports are just becoming one big hedge fund as everything else is. Yes. And then that hedge fund is just imploding. So that's what's happening, and that's the process, and I think it's been very successful.
Yeah, I mean, and my sort of belief is that I think, there are a lot of calls for Brett Brown to be fired, and there weren't so many for Elton Brand to be fired. And I think it's worth noting that, like, I think management and ownership are a lot more responsible than Brett Brown ever was, than the players themselves ever were. When you put young guys, again, on very little, minimum contracts, and you say, all right, you're going to be on the road half the year, you're not going to see your friends or family, and you're going to play for a team that wants you to lose, you're really fucking those guys over, and you're really doing them a disservice. I think Hinkie tried, but was just wildly in over his head. And I think his vision was bullshit, but Josh Harris let him do it. I think Josh Harris is absolutely a fucking terrible owner. But he doesn't give a shit because, he wants to win a championship, so he says, but a guy who wants to win a championship wouldn't have made the Tobias Harris trade. And he would have signed Jimmy Butler instead. So I think there's a lot of, like I said, organizational malfeasance in terms of like, between the players and management, and I think fans do bear some responsibility because the product you're seeing is the players. It's not, you're not seeing Brian Colangelo or whoever every night. You're seeing Markelle Fultz miss a free throw. But I think you have to be mindful. You have much more in common with LeBron James than you do with Josh Harris. And I think that sort of, when you get to those sort of levels of wealth, you have to be, because like a lot of, when leagues go on strike, whatever, it's always, the players should play. Like they're ungrateful millionaires. And it's like the owners are all billionaires, except for maybe like Al Davis and the Packers. And I think it's really important to keep in mind, like at some point, these are also labor relations and you should be sympathetic to players because like I challenge, people who think they could do it so well. Like if you're 19 years old and you're handed $10 million, let's see you not blow it. Because I would blow it now. I'm 29 years old as of yesterday. So I know I don't think the process worked. Go Celtics, always and forever. We're going to do the Banner 18 boogie soon. But I do want to keep tell people, you should be skeptical of the products you consume, and you should know who owns the teams. That goes for football too. And
No,
as best you can,
don't do that. Simply consume product and then get excited for more product.
Yes.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
And I just also want to say, like, stop when you're a fan, understand that these guys aren't just assets to be bought and sold and accumulated. And also, like, 5 GMs in 10 years is not a winning fucking strategy.
Look, it's worked for the politics of Italy. Why the fuck wouldn't it work for basketball?
You're saying that the process is the Gladio of the NBA. The strategy of, I don't know if the strategy of tension works when you're always losing, though.
Probably not. All right, that's it for me. Does anyone have any commercials?
Only my favorite drop from this episode that you made me get.
Is this the dagger?
Oh, can I also get love him, trust him, even though it sounds like dirt? Thank you.
That was it. That was literally it. It was 2 seconds.
That's all I wanted. That's about Marcus Smart, who plays for the Boston Celtics, who are, again, this team's Grim Reaper. Dan, you have got anything? Commercials? Anything you want to plug?
I co-host a podcast called The Backstory, where we ask a person about something they're obsessed with and they talk about it. You can get that on any podcast network. And subscribe to Defector. That's my actual job. And I think we're putting out some quality content.
Can confirm. I was talking to Roz about the idea of doing your whatever $24,000 a year tier and demanding that everybody who worked at Defector come on this podcast.
Every individual Defector member of staff on for a bonus episode.
Yeah, you guys can pick the bonus episode, but every single one of you. Roz, you and I are doing something next week, if you want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, assuming this episode is out, we're going to be going. I know that, like, on my YouTube channel, Franklin 12 is not out yet. That should be out soon. We're going to go across Pennsylvania to do some filming for Franklin 13, which is going to be all about canals in the main line of public works. And Liam's trying to set up something along the lines of Twitch drives the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Oh, God. Well, when both of my co-hosts die, tune in for the next episode of Well, There's Your Problem, which will just be me talking for an hour.
Oh, all right. A short one. All right.
Yeah.
I guess that'll do it.
And of course, the subject of that will be the Tacoma Narrows Bridge disaster.
Oh, yes. Thank you for being a Patreon. If you stole this, please don't post the link in the public YouTube comment section.
Yeah, it's just annoying. Like, we understand people are going to get it for free. That's fine. People can't always afford it, but it's really kind of taking the piss to be like, hey, free preview for this thing. Here's the link. It's just like, no, come on, man. Make it a little bit more work than that.
Also,
please.
like,
you should have to get, like, if you want to steal this podcast, you should have to go onto, like, a shady website that, like, tries to put viruses on your computer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how piracy should have to be done. There needs to be some sort of risk involved.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to piracy at all. What I want is the, like, janky kind of, like,
I want 2002 Kazaa levels.
Yeah, you have to get this
I think
podcast back off of LimeWire.
I think you should have to download the podcast on a boat.
Oh, God. Literally
international waters.
Do actual piracy, yeah.
I was supposed to cover an event once where they were going to have a cruise and there was going to be bare knuckle boxing in international waters.
That's dangerously close to the Simpsons monkey knife fight game.
Yeah. Not enough people signed up for it, so the cruise was canceled, though.
That's a bummer. I would have done that. All right. We good?
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a podcast.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This was fun.
Thanks for being on, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
I'm happy to talk about canals later, too.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right. So,
all right.
Wait, Dan, don't leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you can mute yourself, but leave the Zencastr tab open until it uploads. You got to stop the
recording. Yes.